Video Presentation and Ecology, Christine Bellin.
Temperature relations discuss how temperature is valuable to humans, animals, plants, and also in all surroundings. We all know that in all of the planet that has been found and discovered, the Earth is the only one recognized to support life because the Earth has the perfect distance from the Sun, so that it is habitable to humans and other species can survive. As I have watched, the topics are all about trias and tegrofolia, microclimate, evolutionary trade-off, temperature and performance of an organisms, regulating body temperature, and surviving extreme temperature. We will discuss it one by one. So, Dryas integrifolia is a species of flowering plant in the rose family. Temperature benefits Dryas integrifolia to orienting toward the sun, where warmer gynecium temperature, heavier seeds, and more insects visitation. It also helps temperature to germinate flowering plants. In microclimate, it is a local set of atmospheric conditions that contradict those in the surrounding areas, continually with slight differences but occasionally with significant ones. However, temperatures affects microclimates by trees alter and cooling air temperatures through evaporation, blocking winds, and shading various surfaces. The importance of microclimate in impacting ecological processes such as regeneration, growth, social respiration, nutrient cycling, and wildlife. An evolutionary trade-off is generally considered as a condition in which an expansion in the performance of one aspect causes a reduction in the operation of another given the limited amount of accessible resources, for example, energy, space-time, and so on. The temperature and performance of an organism in level biomolecular, most enzymes have a precise predictable shape at low temperatures. The four major types of biomolecules are carbohydrates, lipids, nucleic acid, and proteins. It is vital for life as it aids organisms to grow, sustain, and reproduce. The optimal the optimal photosynthetic level is a plant. It is provided with ideal conditions for photosynthesis when it is just the exact amount of the things it requires, such as water, sunlight, oxygen, and carbon dioxide. So the importance of temperature to living organisms was influenced by the distribution of the organisms since it determines the physical state. Let's move on to body temperature regulations. So, body temperature regulations have few kiloterms that the body temperature modifies directly with environmental conditions. Ectotherms rely on mainly external energy sources in any animals whose having regulations of the body temperature depends on external sources, including sunlight or heated rock surface. It involves the fishes, amphibians, reptiles, and invertebrates. Lastly, the endotherms rely heavily on metabolic energy, similarly to birds and mammals. So, how does temperature affect the ecosystem? Temperature is an important factor in an ecosystem because it regulates the distribution of living organisms that also determine the physical state of the water. Temperature similarly affects the rate of photosynthesis of aquatic plants because warm stream water carries limited dissolved oxygen to cool water and may not include sufficiently dissolved oxygen for the survival of different species of aquatic life. So nowadays, we experience high temperatures. Our climate change is not normal, just like before. If summer, the temperature was so high that caused heat stroke to some people, and when it's cold, we felt the coolest weather. In other countries, their temperature is now higher than we expect. The ice was starting to melt. The animals and other species that live only and survive in the cold were affected. So, we need to be observant and have analytical skills to know about the relation of temperature. In the topic of water relations, it tackled the relation of water to availability, the content of air, movement between soil and plants, regulating of land, acquisition by plants and animals, and conservation by plants and animals. I realize, or in my understanding, water availability is the abundance of water that can be used for human purposes without significant damage to ecosystem or other users. The water content of the air is the amount of water vapor in the air called humidity. For example, when I am having some coffee, I always notice the smoke from it. I place my hand above my coffee and felt the air. Afterward, it comes to be moist in my hand and it is called water vapor. Having a relation to water is the most important thing, especially for humans and also for plants and animals. Water is a necessary nutrient that our body requires every day. Without water, humans did not survive for a long time. Just like we said, you can survive without food, but you can survive without water. Just like plants, they need water to germinate and grow, to have roots and branches, and most to survive. And in animals, it will help them to fulfill their vital functions, and the most important thing is to prolong their lives.